Very extreme political analyst with ABC News, Trey Harden. Trey, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. Well, he stayed on message. He read the teleprompter. What's the grade for his foreign policy speech yesterday?
Well, I mean, you first have to start with the fact that when he is being scripted, I mean, it's a double-edged sword because when he's being scripted, he looks horrible. I mean, and he's certainly not the Donald Trump that the large amount of angry Republicans elected as their nominee. That's not the one that they want. They want the one that shoots from the hip, that is willing to say what maybe other people aren't. And even though maybe it's the wrong thing to say once in a while or it's risky. I mean, when he gets up there and does that, first of all, just from a delivery standpoint, I mean, he looks awful. I mean, he clearly has never really used a teleprompter that much in the past because he doesn't do it naturally. I mean, he clearly gets caught up on the timing of it. His sentences are kind of really fragmented. So just from a delivery standpoint, it doesn't look good. And then from a substance standpoint, sure, I guess he's staying on message, but then you have to question what the message is. Let alone that it at the very least contradicts some positions and things he has said or done in the past. But as you just said too, I mean, does that really make sense? I mean, to go back to the days where you had to sign something to be a citizen. Are you or ever have you been a member of the Communist Party? I mean, does he expect that some terrorist is going to come into this country, and when they have to fill out or answer that question, that they're going to actually say, "Oh, darn, yes, I am a terrorist"? Does that not allow me into this country, or what? I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
So what's got to be frustrating to conservatives is that there is a whole lot to go after the current administration and Hillary Clinton on when it comes to foreign policy. You can talk about the failures in Libya. You can talk about whether or not ISIS, they gained strength because of their lack of leadership in Syria. There's all sorts of meat on the bone. But when he says ridiculous things like they're the father of ISIS, it takes it and completely destroys the message and ruins any type of good he's trying to do.
You're exactly right. I mean, there's no question on his substance. He wins. It is a winnable race for the reasons you just mentioned. She is at best an unpopular nominee, but more importantly, she is so beatable because she essentially wants to extend 4 more years of an administration that has been an utter failure, let alone the fact that she's not to be trusted. It is completely, clearly, almost proven that she's dishonest. But when he sits up there and mixes his message, a winning message, by the way, fighting the war on Islamic terrorism, it doesn't matter how it comes out of his mouth, that he is always going to beat her on that issue. The polls show it. He's going to win independence on that. But when he gets up there and mixes it with taking on the media and the press or some of these other distractions, I mean, you're completely diluting it and taking like 2 steps backwards after taking 1 step forward. So, the analogy I keep coming up with, McGraw, is that it's like some old man in his study playing like toy soldiers and like having a conversation with himself. That's what Trump reminds me of. Is like he's gluing little tiny soldiers together and playing like this weird game of Risk on some map on a table and making it up as he goes along. And it just I'm not even sure that he realized he would even get to this point and be this successful. And I think it's maybe even shocked him. And I'm sure that after this election, we're going to hear a lot of, well, gosh, I didn't even really think I would win, or it wasn't about winning. I just was going along with what the voters wanted me to do.
Here's what I don't understand. He also says that he was against the war, and he in hindsight, his memory is perfect. However, he doesn't realize that there's things called tape, and they have him on tape saying all sorts of things that contradicts what he swears he said yesterday.
Yeah, and here's the bottom line. While it's early, and we'll look at what the polls say after Labor Day, which is clearly the important time to do so. I mean, he is getting crushed in all of the key battleground states, and it's not just that he's getting crushed in what the polls are showing. Again, I think that there's big margins of errors in those polls right now, but he doesn't have a field organization in those states. I can confirm he doesn't have any money in those states. He's not spending any money in those states. So the basic things that are needed to win a presidential race, he is not even doing. And then on top of that, he's got the messaging issues and the fact that he is Donald Trump. And then the fact that he's having to defend states like Georgia right now. I mean, that shouldn't be a state that he has to even think or worry about. And that Mitt Romney or John McCain didn't have to worry about, and right now Donald Trump does. So I am already hearing from close sources and friends inside the RNC, the Republican National Committee, that they are very close to diverting really any type of attention, time, and money from the presidential race to the two key Senate and House races.
So these stories we're hearing from the RNC, you're saying you're hearing those same things?
It's more than hearing. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking to people that are in those positions, not just to make those decisions, but execute those decisions. And there is a slow and gradual shift towards that role. I mean, there's too much at stake for them to let a reckless and just completely insane nominee dictate how they do their jobs. So while they may not talk about it too much publicly, and they don't want to get into a fight on TV with their own nominee, this is real and it is happening.
Trey Harden, ABC News political analyst, also his Washington Nationals clearly out in front of the National League East. Talk about that later. Trey, have a good week.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Bye.
6:28 here, Big 550.